Today's episode of the Monkey Ball podcast is brought to you by Baseball Monkey. Next time you need any baseball equipment, head to baseballmonkey.com, plug in promo code PODCAST10, that's PODCAST, the number 10, 10% off your entire order at baseballmonkey.com. Some exclusions may apply. Let's get into the Monkey Ball podcast.
There are rich teams and there are poor teams. Then there's 50 feet of crap. And then there's us.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Monkey Ball podcast. Great episode for you today. We sit down with the host of the Baseballogist show, the first professional baseball fan, the Baseballogist. Great interview with him about his time in the sport and entire media career that's come out of it. You're listening to the Monkey Ball podcast brought to you by Baseball Monkey. We've got Will from Baseball Monkey. Will, how you doing?
Great, how are you?
I am doing well. Very happy to be bringing the Monkey Ball podcast back to normal scheduled content. We also have a little surprise guests for right now. Hank, typically from Lacrosse Monkey, on the Baseball Monkey podcast. Hank, what's going on?
Hey, I'm here to talk about Rusty Greer and his underrated career and why Hank Blaylock is the best third baseman in Rangers history. But we'll get to that after the break.
Hank Blaylock. I love that throwback.
You want to talk Rangers 05 again? Because that's all I got. Michael Young?
MVP
Pudge?
Baseball.
Michael
MVP
Young.
Baseball 2005. Hank
Good great
Blaylock
game.
just crushing.
That's all I got.
Well, awesome. Hank, thanks for stopping by.
Stickball. Home runs.
No, we brought in Hank, so Hank joins us for the Baseballogist interview that you'll hear here in just a second. So figured we'd bring him in for the little intro, outro, keep everything as consistent as possible. How comfortable are you talking about baseball?
30%? 40%?
I mean, you brought up a Hank Blaylock reference within the first 8 seconds of being on the podcast.
I
so.
came out swinging real hard.
Love it, though.
I know Lou Gehrig exists.
Do you get
That's
the
good.
name? Do you get the Monkey Ball name? Like Moneyball, like the movie? And like the parentheses is like a K, like a strikeout? And then also we're called Monkey Sports. Do you get it?
Is that a book? Or?
Do you get it?
It's also a game, I think.
It's a
It's
game?
like a little monkey and a...
Oh, yeah, Monkey
I
Ball.
think, yeah.
All right, so Hank's up to speed. Let's get into...
Wait, quick question. What's a slider? I don't really...
No idea.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I've never seen... I have to ask Hank Blaylock. All over the place to start the Monkey Ball podcast. Biggest thing, obviously, we need to talk about. The MLB has been in talks, wanting to come back. Obviously, we would be having baseball right now if everything were normal, but of course, everything is not normal. So the MLB and the owners have agreed to try to play the shortened season. They were talking about playing 82 games, 78 games, home venues. Like Toronto's still closed down, tons of stuff still up in the air. But I wanted to hear, Will, mostly your opinion on like, should baseball try to rush back and do as many games as possible, or should they do this smart? Like, how's the baseball community kind of reacting to the lack of sports going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone wants to see sports back, and being a baseball fan, I'd love to see baseball back again, but I don't really see the point of rushing into it and potentially spreading the COVID more than you need to. At the end of the day, they're going to do anything they can to make money. So I guess we'll just see what happens.
So there's been a couple of ideas floated. One of them that, like, personally was my favorite, I think it's the one that's the most logistically difficult, is bringing teams to, like, 3 or 4 locations and just having them play, like, spring training-esque. Like, you're still playing, normal games, but everyone's staying in the same area. Like, they're around DFW or they're around Los Angeles or whatever. Do you think that's something that they would ever even entertain? Because, I mean, we pretty much can assume that there's not going to be fans, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's no fans according to the proposal. I think, they brought that up about playing at like every game in Arizona or something. And I remember seeing some of the players being against that for, whatever reason, family issues, stuff like that. According to the proposal now, they're just going to stick with the home ballparks. I mean, it would suck without fans. I was watching UFC the other night, and they had no fans. It was very weird, but, I don't know. We'll just see.
And Hank, you brought up before we hopped on, you brought up the Mark Teixeira quote that he had just come out and said, like, all of these, because the biggest issue right now is pay. These players obviously want to get paid their contracts, and they, if they're going to go out and take this risk, they want to be duly compensated and stuff, which is, of course, understandable. But you had brought up the Mark Teixeira quote that he was saying, I would play for pennies on the dollar and stuff. Like, Do you think that there would ever be a resolution for a sport that's so big like baseball that there's going to be an agreement to kind of come out and play this season?
Well, first of all, Mark Teixeira, crybaby. Go to the Yankees. Former Ranger, dud. Get out of here. Dude, one of the 3 guys they lost to the Yankees back then. I mean, ultimately it's a business, and like that's the most cliche like white collar thing to say, but it's just like these dudes are doing this to make money. Like they're not coming back because they want you to see baseball. They're coming back so that they can get paid. Just like everyone is, trying to get back on the wagon, trying to get paid, unemployment, all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, it's about job and job security, right? If you're 24 years old and you're a baseball player, how long is your prime going to be? Like till you're 30 and then you blow your arm out and you're done? So these guys are, they're trying to secure the bag. They're trying to work, and I understand that. But ultimately, when like someone like Mark Teixeira, who famously is, he's fine. He's not like this noble knight. Is like, I would play for pennies on the dollar. It's like, dude, you got a $180 million contract. Like, no, you're not playing for $400 and a sandwich. Like, you're gonna cry and you're gonna get as much money as you want, and that's something the MLBPA has actually come out and talked about. I know recently, I think even as early as last night.
So I said this also, but like I hate being like, the red-blooded American of like, oh, they're playing a sport for a living, these guys are millionaires. But like maybe the sports fan in me is like, that's sort of I understand what Teixeira is saying. Like, I appreciate your point of like, yeah, of course this guy's gonna try to make as much money as possible, but you look at like, Hank, I'm glad you're in here for this, but like the lacrosse plan that they're doing, playing
baseball and lacrosse
this tournament. Yeah, I know. Sorry, you guys can turn it off now.
Yeah.
No, please don't. But like, so lacrosse, the Premier Lacrosse League said they were going to come out and play tournament style, and they wanted to play sports, and it seemingly has been well received. And I feel like baseball, with such a big community, would do the same. So I think that coming down and like guys worrying about getting paid half a contract, like if your contract is in the millions, you're still getting paid millions of dollars to play baseball. And again, I hate being like, old man yells at cloud like, oh, they need to go out and play. Come on, the fans deserve it. But to a sense, like I kind of think they should. If the MLB ensures that they do everything to keep these guys safe, like I don't see why that shouldn't be something that like the players' associations would want to agree with. Especially if you look at, there's 90 guys, on a baseball roster. Like, I'm sure you can go down the list and find 25 dudes that want to play, in each
fair.
organization.
And like, I mean, well, you could probably get into this, but like ultimately, like, you don't need to play baseball. You don't need professional sports. You don't need, like, it's called professional sports, right? It's pro sports. They're getting paid to do sports. So like, them and their union and what they want is to get as much money as possible. That's why revenue split in all the sports is so important. That's why the PA is really fighting to not have a salary cap right now. That's been the biggest threat that I've heard. And I think ultimately this is just going to turn into a money fight, and everyone's just going to be like, I want more money. And the owners go, no, we want more money. And then it's just nothing's going to happen. Like, nothing about this is like pure Americana baseball. It's all like, how much of the bag can we secure with the TV rights deals, because we're going to lose out on so much revenue from stadiums. Like, what do you think about that, Will?
Yeah, I mean, that's why players are so upset. Is because I think it was back in March, they were promised, a percentage of their salary without playing baseball. And now MLB is trying to lower that even more, and they're upset about that. So, I mean, they don't need to play baseball, like you said, but I think that they should be still making their salary that they were promised at least. But yeah, I agree with you. They are going to, it's going to end up in just a money war, and I don't know what's going to happen at this point.
I mean, to take it another route, I'm super familiar with basketball and lacrosse especially, but Adam Silver came out recently and, he was criticized. I forget the lady's name who's the head of the PA for basketball, but she was complaining about salaries and salary cap and guaranteed pay and all this. And Adam Silver just essentially went like, there's no clause in the CBA talking about pandemics that's, processing the whole world. So like that sort of bargaining chip is what it's going to come down to. And it's ultimately going to be millionaires fighting with millionaires, or billionaires fighting with millionaires on how much money they're going to pay them. So I think that's kind of the tough part. I mean, like, yeah, baseball's cool and all, and go watch KBO. It's fun, bat flips and all that. But unfortunately, this might just turn into a bunch of dudes fighting over money, and that's kind of unfortunate.
I mean, yeah, especially if you look at like the long-term implications, I guess, of like, if they can get away with paying the guys, 30% this season, then who's to say that they're just going to happily go back to full? I mean, again, I can respect that, but before we get into our quick interview, you mentioned the KBO. Either of you guys watched any of it?
Just highlights. I haven't. When do they come on at like 2 a.m. here or something?
Yeah, that's true. It's like 4 in the morning.
Yeah. Dude, I can't even be bothered to watch like American sports that are on all the time. Like, I'm not watching the Senior Open on a Sunday. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be bothered to watch Korean. It's cool. I'm glad people like it, but
It's been pretty electric. I had to look
Yeah,
up a list
definitely.
of like former MLBers and stuff, and there's some names out there for sure.
I mean, are bat flips that cool? That's what ESPN sold us on. They're like bat flips, and everyone was like, okay. I don't know.
I think it's cool just seeing like players in the Korean League just pimping home runs like crazy, and just it's giving people something fun to watch, I guess. But
I can appreciate the repercussion of a bat flip.
Yeah.
A backflip? That'd be even cooler.
You bat flip and then
Bomb
you just
backflip.
get plunked right after. Like, I
is
can appreciate, or you get like Jose Batista like that. I can respect.
Why is
that.
the bat flip so hated in America? Why?
That's old head baseball.
No,
right?
but like why? Give me the history, because I'm dumb and I only know Hank
Baseball is
Blaylock.
a respect game.
Okay,
And
go on.
so if you hit a dinger off of a pitcher and flip your bat real high, jog around the bases real slow, it's just seen as showing up the pitcher, and then they in turn will hit you with the next pitch. So I mean,
Does this extend
Unwritten rules.
Does this extend to every level? Because like I watch college baseball clips sometimes. They're not clips, like I don't know, videos on dudes' Twitters and like D3, and they're just like screaming at the pitcher the whole time. Is this like just a pro baseball thing, or is this like through the ranks?
I think mainly you see it more in pro because you can get in trouble doing it at like lower levels, maybe suspended if you intentionally do it. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's mainly in the pro level.
That's so silly. I don't get
Yeah.
it.
The unwritten rules of baseball are like we could spend an entire probably 2 episodes talking about make baseball fun again and the people that are so against it and baseball writers and all that. Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. There's a whole laundry list. But speaking of that, someone that's trying to make baseball fun again, bring the excitement back into the community, the Baseballogist. Great interview with him. Again, had Hank along. Check it out right now. Welcome back to the Monkey Ball Podcast. We have got the first professional baseball fan, the Baseballogist, joining the episode today. Very excited for this one. Baseballogist, how you doing?
I'm well, man. I'm on the podcast, and I'm super excited to get to know you guys and share my story. So appreciate the time, brother.
Yeah, of course. Let's start right there because I think it's a very unique title of the world's first professional baseball fan. What exactly does that mean for people that don't know maybe you or your brand right now?
To make it really simple, if people don't know who Anthony Bourdain is on Travel Channel, rest in peace. He's a chef and author. Then he got his own TV show. Anthony Bourdain, no reservations. He had his own show, and he traveled the world, and he showcased the ins and outs of food. And I thought, that's what the game is missing. At least for my own entertainment, is a professional fan that showcases the ins and outs of the game, and not only just, knowing stats or knowing ballparks, but knowing how to teach the game, knowing how to explain the game. A guy that could understand the stereotype. And so, about 2 years ago, I just said, I want to create this figure. I don't want to say figure because it's me. It's me personally. And why not create this baseball lifestyle where I get to travel around the world and showcase the ins and outs of the game, from coaching to speaking to playing to going to different ballparks, tasting different foods, experiencing different conversations with players and fans and coaches and artists and musicians. It's just like it's literally me being a super fan of the game besides just watching it.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of going more into that, what sort of hidden aspects, I guess you could say, of baseball do you think have sort of been overlooked or not really understood by someone who, might just watch the Yankees on a Thursday night? They're not like really deep into the game as much as you are.
I always like to say baseball is not culturally accepted. When I say culturally accepted, I'm talking about, think about how basketball is accepted by hip hop, how basketball is accepted by fashion, basketball is accepted by, celebrities. Baseball is kind of like that. Baseball is like that old sport, that old man sport, where it's a boring game. And this is my life. I coach it, I teach it, I play it, to where you guys know that it's nothing like that. It's not even close. And if I could explain the elements of the game, if I could explain how it's not boring, all I want to do is evolve the game. I don't know if you guys like the game of chess or even playing or watching poker. A lot of people will just say, oh, just luck. That's just boring. They get cards, whatever. I truly love playing it. I truly love watching it. Why? Because there's so much thinking going on. There's so much strategy while nothing's even happening. Sport fans don't understand that. While a pitcher's standing on the mound, thinking about what he's about to throw, you have him kind of arguing with the catcher by shaking his head, and let's see how the cards play. Just things like that. I love to break that down and preach that. Obviously that's one element, but it's definitely overlooked.
So I appreciate that you brought up, basketball being like mainstream accepted in culture. Do you think that, well, so I guess to step back a little bit. So one thing I think the NBA does very well is like their accessibility to highlights and stuff. Like you look at like NBA Twitter is kind of its own world. And yeah, kind of like you said, like baseball doesn't have that. Do you think the MLB kind of has an issue with not putting out highlights and stuff like that they don't really foster their own, similar culture?
They take too much control. I've done multiple interviews with players where, I can't say their names, but they always say it's the front office. They always say it's commissioner. There's too much control. You look at what David Stern did for NBA, rest in peace. You see what NBA is doing. They kind of just let the players run the show versus the front office run the show. Now MLB is kind of, you could tell MLB is trying, but it's forced. And again, it's great content, right? But the best way to really expose someone for their personality is let them be. And when you have baseball, you guys know this. Baseball is such an old-fashioned sport. It's very conservative to where players are very not scared, but it's just that mentality. I loved was it 2016? Was that the World Baseball Classic? 2016?
Yes,
yeah.
I believe so. Every 4
Yeah.
years?
Yeah, they played out in my area, Los Angeles. They played in San Diego. You saw the energy. It'd be a first inning bomb, and you saw the energy. You saw how loose they are. You saw the excitement, the passion. You see the energy of the fans. It actually reminded me of soccer as the universal sport. You see how passionate these guys are for cheering their guys on. And that's what the World Baseball Classic did in 2016. Why? Because it was a culture between not only United States, but everyone around the world. And we got to see that. And I wish we could feed off that.
So do you think the struggle for that sort of culture is especially just in professional baseball here in the States, like MLB specifically? Or does that trickle down to college and high school and youth? Is that sort of culture of hey, straight-laced professionalism? Does that go from every level, or is it just at the top that we really struggle with that lack of expressionism?
I mean, everything trickles down, right? Everyone looks up to the guys and that are professionals. Whatever the professionals do, it just trickles down to college and high school, and just kind of but that's how it is. That's why when you have players like Tim Anderson, Javi Baez, Lindor, Max Scherzer showcases that passion in him, that fire. When you have those guys kind of leading the way for the wave of kind of just being cool, being loose, being emotional. Baseball's such an emotional game, and I love when people copy them. I don't want to just say bat flips are the only thing. That's not the only thing we're talking about. It's just the fun and looseness. So, but yeah, I mean, it trickles down from MLB down.
I mean, I think when you look at the MLB, there needs to be a level of balance, right? You don't need everyone running around like Dennis Rodman with their hair dyed and, swinging at people all the time. I think some guys need sort of to be straight-laced and focused in order to, play well. Do you know what I mean? Some guys probably need some level of professionalism to, really succeed, because if not, they're just not going to be focused. What do you think about that?
In a game, there's so much emotion, there's so much adrenaline, there's happening that, saying a level of professionalism, I don't even know what that means anymore. Going from what baseball does to what Dennis Rodman swinging away. It's that's a big gap. But just showing excitement, just showing more emotion, giving these players more freedom. Think about how NBA, where you have a player who's maybe top 30, right? Top 30 in the league. Why is that guy a superstar with 12, 20 million followers on Instagram? It's because they showcase them before and after the game. They get personal with these guys. They let them, not let them say, but give them more opportunities to talk in front of the camera. And that just bleeds to more and more things. But when you see coverage of what MLB does, it's we don't know who Mike Trout is. we don't know who the best players in the league are.
Yeah, that was about to be my exact example. Is Mike Trout is another face if you didn't know exactly who he was.
Exactly, and my opinion today, Mike Trout is the best player in the game. But to me, commercially, he's the face of the game. You put a poll out to sports fans, I guarantee that's not the first guy that comes out of people's mouth. It'd probably be Bryce Harper or Aaron Judge.
Or like Jeter or someone from like 10 years ago
Right,
still,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Griffey.
Exactly. And that blows my mind. I looked up that, I don't know about now, I think it was like 2 months ago. The most followers on Instagram for a baseball player is Mike Trout, which is very cool, and Bryce Harper. And these guys, when I say this, you guys understand what I'm saying. These guys only have like 2 million followers, and that's crazy. And again, you could name a top 30 ball player in NBA, and he has 20 million followers. There's a reason for Mike Trout has 1.8 million followers. What's going on? Right? We only see these guys on the field, but we don't know who these guys are. Before.
I mean, does that come down to the individual players having to put more effort in, or is that something like the league as a whole needs to do more of? Because I think, I watch games and I see guys talk to reporters after games. They're doing the press conferences. They're doing all that kind of stuff. Is it just inherently in baseball players sort of like psychology and like mentality to like be more private, or do you think that's something the league just needs to promote guys more?
The league, think about what the league is doing right now with people like MLB The Show. Like Snell, Gavin Lux. Snell just, I don't want to say being the face, but he's getting a little more confident with what he's doing online. Dude's got a Twitch. Dude's got lights glowing up in his whether it's room or office, playing the show and putting on Twitch. Homie just went on SportsCenter Live. Why is that? It's because if not the front runner of gaming, but forget gaming, he was just in front of the camera. So it's because MLB gave him the opportunity. Think about like Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer's a different story. Dude's not forcing it, but dude is putting himself in front of the camera. People are loving what Trevor Bauer's doing, anything he does, because he's trying. So it comes down to opportunity. NBA will interview them or put a camera on them right when they get out of their car walking, showcasing what they're drinking, what they're holding, what they're wearing down in the locker room. What is it? Why is that? It's like basketball. It's like did you guys ever watch wrestling?
Yeah, here and there, sure.
Yeah, that drama, not drama, but that walk up. They build right when the wrestler walks in the arena before the locker room. The Rock just entered. That's what they did with NBA. That's what they do with NBA. They're showcasing before the game to lead up to the game. Baseball doesn't do that.
Yeah, it's all personality driven. And I wonder too, especially hearing you kind of talk about this, that like this is almost the double-edged sword of like the social media era, really, because I think, yeah, like you said, baseball is such kind of like the old man sport, for lack of a better term, that they never really just came into like the social media era. Because you look at, Hank mentioned like guys from the 90s just seemingly had so much more personality, probably because you knew less of what they were doing on their off days or less of what they were doing. Yep. Like Ken Griffey was this superstar, but you didn't know, what he was wearing when he walked into the stadium, because that just didn't exist. And I think that, baseball is needing to kind of enter that realm. Yeah, like you mentioned basketball doing. But then going off of that point, for like a guy like yourself that wants to continue to kind of promote that, what's like the end goal? Like, have you thought about what you're going to need to kind of see to think that like, oh yeah, like baseball has made it, or, your impact has done X, Y, and Z?
I don't know if I could change the game, because I don't know. This whole journey has been only 2 years, and I probably have a 5 to 10 year plan, and all I can do is work on my work and work on what's in front of me. And one of my goals is I just want to be so influential in the game, so influential that people understand me to be entertaining, educating, motivating, and I could promote anything I want. That put something, service or product in front of me, I could promote it. And I want to go to other cities, states, countries, and involve the game. So when I say so influential, that I could go to a country that has no baseball, that's, soccer driven or cricket driven, and host camps out there to evolve the game. I want to travel the world, not only United States. I want to travel the world and showcase the ins and outs of what the game is in that city or state or country. So therefore, I can make baseball a little cooler. Like using the Anthony Bourdain reference, because he was a chef, he was a cook. 10, 20 years ago, cooking wasn't sexy. Cooking wasn't cool. Now we watch YouTube and Netflix about, just anyone traveling to eat and being foodies, or everyone learning how to cook behind the scenes of whatever dish it is. Because it made it cool. I'm not saying he did it, but he got a really big impact in that. So it's to do that. It's to, host my own show, whether it's YouTube, whether it's, Hulu or Netflix picks me up. I don't know, but all I can do is focus on my work and make sure that I can give back to the community.
So theoretically, just a fun hypothetical here. Let's say there's a mythical island called Monkey Sports Island, and everyone who lives there has never even seen baseball. They don't know what a bat is. They don't know what a baseball is. Let's say you show up to this island. What would you do in order to get like the population of that island to be like, oh yeah, baseball, this is sick. This is going to be our thing. Like, what kind of would be your strategy in that situation?
So I would invite guys alongside with me, just top tier guys. And I forgot what country they did it in, but at the end of the day, baseball, what makes it cool is home runs and people who throw freaking. And I would host like a home run derby and make like a stick setup for a home run derby, whether it's on the ocean, whether it's building a field in the middle of the city, and seeing dudes put it over 330, 340, 350, 400. Make the field a little smaller, like kind of like a Fenway, where you have a huge wall, and everyone's just like, "Oh my gosh, that is a bomb." Do like a McCovey Cove type of thing, where you have a lake or a river or an ocean in right field or left field, to where guys are putting in the ocean, and kids are just like putting two and two together. Like, this ball just went over that wall into the water. That's crazy. I would take those elements of what we get excited about and make that happen.
So to step back a little bit, I think you had a really cool, video on your Instagram a couple days ago about sort of where you started this idea of the Baseballogist and, your path in baseball that led up to it. But what was it that really kind of turned the switch for you into it being like a media career, a media idea versus, trying to be a statistician or a reporter or something like that?
I've always been intrigued by, people say, "Oh, you're a super fan." Like, okay, well, what's his numbers? And it's like, that doesn't make you a super fan. That just makes you another type of fan that knows your numbers, stats and everything. And I've always been intrigued by, if you want to watch Sports Center stuff, go watch Sports Center. If you want to watch Baseball Tonight, or that's not on, but MLB Tonight, go watch that. I wanted to give people a gift, like a refreshing type of content. And since I'm tied with nobody, it just made me love what I did much more, because I had all control. I remember early, like probably last year, I was like, man, I want to be recognized by MLB. I want to be, partner with MLB. But then, when I had conversations with MLB, or had conversations with people tied with it, it's like, the advice I get is, why would you want that when you have full control of what you do? And you guys obviously hear my passion is growing and evolving. I don't want to say changing the game, because who am I to say I'm changing the game? I'm just a fan. But I want to evolve the game and make a dent and say that, I got to build players, and I got to build fans. I got to build the game my way, and that intrigues me. A lot of people don't know I'm a full-time coach behind the scenes. So when I'm a guy who says I'm a super fan, then when I show up to your camp and I'm actually showcasing, just knowledge of how to evolve their game, people are like, holy smokes, this guy is building his business, building his personality brand, but he also can teach. It's just all weapons and all in one. And And that's why I'm so passionate about it, is because I have full control. And my voice, that's the biggest thing, is I take pride in voicing my opinions. Again, I don't state that I'm right. I love to voice my opinions. So whoever comments back, whoever's on the podcast, whoever gives me their opinion, I'm like, I love it. I respect it, because that's what the game needs. The game needs more voices. The game needs more opinions, because the fans run it. The fans run it. So when you get that's why I'll call my followers. It's my community. It's the baseball community. And when these guys are motivated to speak up for what they love doing, for what the game needs, that's what's going to run the game.
So kind of looking at the game sort of in a grand scheme of things, what are like 3 things that if you could add to like baseball, like the whole mythological idea of baseball, like you could add 3 aspects to the game, what would those 3 things be, and why would you do it to make the game better?
Fashion, music, and better fan experience.
Like in park or like online?
I mean, I guess both.
Interesting.
One of the projects I'm going to be working on the next 2-3 years is fan experience. How can I get someone who knows baseball but doesn't watch baseball, kind of knows it? How do we get that person to love being a baseball fan? That's the answer that I'm going to answering. That's a question that I'm going to be answering the next few years. That's something I'm super passionate about. Fan experience. And then fashion. I'm not saying, I'm not judging anyone for their what do you call it, their fashion. Like, anyone dresses whatever, but you see the opportunities that NBA players do. They dress crazy. I'm not saying that I like it, but they're not only getting attention for themselves, they're getting attention from other brands, and they're getting attention culturally. Fashion is a culture. And now you tie it with music. Why is Drake super close friends with everyone with the Raptors? Why is obviously Jay-Z owns the Nets. Why is Kendrick Lamar always at a Laker game? Why are these celebrities always there? What is it about that? Why aren't they always at a baseball game? It's music. Music ties them, just like how fashion ties people. Music, fashion, fan experience.
So when you say music, like what I mean, this is sort of short-sighted, but like what kind of genre do you think baseball should adopt musically? Because historically the NBA got really big into the hip hop and rap scene in like the 80s and 90s when it came through with like Iverson coming through and sort of that whole more like street mentality. That's kind of what took basketball in that direction. What sort of like genre and culture of baseball do you think should come through? Because baseball historically in the MLB has had a huge influx of like Latin players and people not from this country. So do you think like Latin music could be something that influences that?
Hip hop and Latin music. Hip hop and Latin music. For you to say street, yeah, 100% that's where it started. But for what it is today, I wouldn't even I wouldn't categorize it as street. It's culture now. You look at TikTok, you look at mostly all the songs that are being danced to, it's culture. And you look at the people who dance to it, they're not all street, or they're not all, they don't look the part of hip-hop, but that's hip-hop. Hip-hop is culture. Hip-hop is like the new rock star. You guys, what I mean when I say that? The new rock star. I never dug deep to this, because I guess that's those are the holes missing, right? Or that's what's missing is like music, Latin players. You see Latin players dance while they're taking GBs short. You see them have fun, like I said, with WBC, while they're in the game. Play more music. Just like how NBA plays music even during the game. Obviously not like there's like a formula to when you play music, right? Right after a rebound, maybe 10 seconds. But why not during the game for baseball? There's so much standing around. There's so much downtime. Why not?
I'm curious going back to your fan experience point. I mean, I would almost argue that like going to a baseball game is maybe the most fun, like professional atmosphere, just because, yeah, you kind of get the whole like, you're at the ballpark and it's you're close to the players and stuff. Like, I don't know. I think maybe this is more personal, but like being at a baseball game to me is like one of the most fun experiences. So what do you think is kind of lacking there from an actual like in-person standpoint that could really, yeah, like you said, like draw home baseball fans.
I agree with you 100%. I love going. I mean, not to be biased, I'm a sports fan too. And a baseball game experience of going to a game, no one brags. Wait, you guys are from Texas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which stadium are you guys closer to?
The Rangers.
Yeah, we got Arlington down the street.
For football.
Oh, for football?
Dallas, right?
Yeah,
Cowboys as well.
Cowboys
They're the
stadium.
same parking lot.
No one brags about, like the hot dogs you get at the stadium. No one brags about the different foods you get at a Laker game. No one brags about the dish you got at a Cowboy game. No one. I mean, it's going to the game. It's repping your team, having that jersey on, having a beer. That's it. And again, I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm saying that's the culture. But when you go to a baseball game, I could show you guys. I'm from California, so I've been about 13, 14 different ballparks so far. One of my favorite things to do is find the best spot to watch a game. And that, to me, again, it's subjective for what best spot is. It could be a dugout seat, or, above the dugout. It could be right behind home plate. It doesn't matter. I love finding certain spots in the stadium where you could enjoy a drink, a hot dog, of whatever that ballpark is known for. And if you want to get very culturally accepted, or culturally oh my gosh, I have to be there. In Los Angeles, people come here to go to a certain restaurant, not to taste or drink the thing. They just want that picture to say that they're there. There's a wall over here in Sunset Boulevard where it's just a pink wall, like a pink wall. It's the side of a brand, but they painted it pink. Hundreds and hundreds of people go there just to take a picture. So what I'm trying to say is, I could show different angles, different spots, different seats in the ballpark for you to just come through the game, for them to just come and experience the game while taking that picture with that food, with that scenery. One of my favorite spots in Oracle Park, which is formerly known as AT&T and Bell in San Francisco, one of my favorite spots to sit at is nosebleed first base side. Why? Because you're looking directly at that fat glove, that Coca-Cola bottle, McCovey Cove behind right field. You see the bay. You see the Bay Bridge. You see the Golden Gate Bridge. And then you see the city light, or the city building, all in that one seat. Who wouldn't want to take that picture? Who wouldn't want to experience that? That leads to more ticket sales and more baseball fans.
So maybe that's your answer right there. But of the ballparks you went to, what's your favorite? Is it there in San Francisco?
There's different elements. San Francisco is one of them. I always despise saying California states, just because everyone's like, oh, you're from California. But Oracle is awesome. Anything with water is awesome. Petco is phenomenal. Petco is right in the city.
Agreed.
Is right in downtown city. It's pretty. They structured it well. If people know the history of downtown San Diego, they basically just knocked down the whole city and kept one building up there. It's called Western Metal Supply. That brick building in left field. That's actually there. There's no pole there. It's just they painted a yellow line on it, and it kind of like structures the stadium. But it's perfectly in there. I really like Camden Yards in Baltimore. Again, brick wall. That's history right there. That's something you could just never modify. It's always going to be there. And of course, Utah Street, which is it's like a street in between, like a sidewalk in between the stadium and the brick wall in Camden Yards. Like every baseball field, like you said, every baseball field has its own. It's different from arenas or different from football stadiums because it has personality. It has different elements that you can enjoy that will lead you to becoming a baseball fan. You just, my thing is bringing fan experience, and bringing fan experience is going to make you love whatever team that is.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, couldn't agree more. So we'll switch gears a little bit here. So you just got into the podcast world as well with the Baseballogist show. Everyone out there listening to this, check out the Baseballogist show. How's that been going so far?
Probably my favorite thing. Again, I just my first rodeo, but I don't know if it's doing well or not. But my favorite thing every day is to look up my numbers. And it's not the numbers I'm intrigued by. It's the different countries that I'm intrigued by. Like I told you, that I want to travel the country, travel the world to showcase the ins and outs of the game. And I just counted up the the amount of countries that have downloaded the podcast, and we're about 23 countries.
Wow.
And the coolest thing is when I see a country that's just not known for baseball. You know, I'll have 5 or 10, 20 downloads from, you know, I don't want to call out a country or any that, but that's not popular for baseball. And you have these guys that are like super fans of baseball, trying to compete with soccer and cricket out there, you know. So it would be seeing the different downloads in other countries is my favorite so far.
What's kind of the in-game goal for the podcast as well? Is it similarly just to continue to kind of grow the brand and show the love for baseball, or do you have something that like you want to bring on players to interview, or you know, go over crazy history stories, or what's sort of the elevator pitch maybe for a Baseballogist show?
The elevator pitch is to be a professional fan talking about the ins and outs of the game with my voice. And the reason I love podcasts is because it's an opportunity to voice your opinion, voice what you're passionate about. You know, with my Instagram I built for about 2.5 years, you know, it's awesome. You know, put a cool picture, put a funny video, put a motivating video. It's cool, right? But what led me to loving podcast world is I do lives on my Instagram probably about like 10 to 15 times a week, and people love that. People love hanging out with me, and you know, there's no structure. I'll just hop on. I'll do Q&A. I'll bring people on. I'll give them advice. There's no structure. It's not like you know, it's nothing. It's just people hanging out with me and talking to them. I fed off their energy and their passion. They're like, hey man, you want to listen to me more? And obviously it's hard to do lives all the time. So I just said, I want to do a podcast to just voice my opinion, and not only voice my opinion, but to hear the opinions of others. So yeah, I can't wait. You know, we're on episode 9. And I think my goal is to do like about 20 episodes before I put on a guest, is because I want people to buy into myself and to my co-host. And I want people to respect what our view of the game is and our insight of our story before we bring on someone, because, you know, that builds the structure of the foundation of the podcast, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, cool. Yeah, you guys check out the Baseballogist show. You got anything else for us?
You know, I mean, this is another opportunity to talk about the game, and like, you guys caught me off guard in such a great way, because you know, we got to go in depth on my insight about what the game is missing, and you know, it's just fun because we're dudes talking about the game and in the direction of it. So I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you guys giving me the time, man.
Yeah, no, of course. It's funny. I've got this whole, you know, list of questions and stuff, and I think I maybe covered 2. But I think, yeah, just getting the opportunity to go over and, yeah, talk about, you know, what the game needs and what it has right now is awesome. And no better person to talk about it with than the first ever professional baseball fan.
Appreciate you guys, man. Seriously.
All right. Well, awesome. The Baseballogist. Thank you so much.
Until next time, guys. Appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you again to the Baseballogist for coming on the Monkey Ball podcast, brought to you by Monkey Sports. And thank you for tuning in to another episode. Again, very happy to be bringing you regularly scheduled content again from Monkey Ball and from Monkey Sports. We appreciate all the support. We will be back again next week for an episode of Off the Ice, the Hockey Monkey podcast. So if you know any hockey players, make sure to get them subscribed to the Monkey Sports podcast. We'll be back for another episode of Monkey Ball in a month's time. Until then, be sure to use promo code podcast10 at baseballmonkey.com, PODCAST, the number 1010. 10% off your entire order. Baseballmonkey.com, Monkey Ball Podcast, Monkey Sports Podcast. We'll see you next time.